Welcome to another edition of Vicarious Travels. This time I shall take you to ice fjords in Ilulissat in Greenland. I visited Ilulissat in Greenland, that's Greenland, to see the icebergs breaking off, the huge icebergs, which one of them sunk the Titanic actually came from, most probably came from Greenland. Area. So I wanted to see that. So I visited Greenland, Ilulissat. So that is Ilulissat, and that is Iceland, to give you an overview, and that's Europe, that's Canada. And if you zoom it, it will come into view. More closer zoom. So that is Ilulissat, and that is the Kangia Fjord. That's where the icebergs break. This is the glacier, and that's the border of the glacier where it breaks into icebergs and float into this fjord. Ilulissat is just a small town of 5,000 people of total population. So it's a tiny city. These are the colorful buildings in the small town. This is Helen from Germany. She was a visitor as well. She happened to stay in one of those igloo pots, and she suddenly appeared on the rocks and made a good view for the photos. So it shows how the Atlantic water currents flow. So the water current comes between the Iceland and Greenland and flows through this way, then goes up north through the Disco Bay and goes all the way up, then turns back on itself, then it flows south and carrying all the icebergs towards into the Atlantic Ocean. This is the calmest area where you find them. But there are instances where icebergs have been discovered, found floating around all these areas. The iceberg which sank the Titanic came somewhere from there. Then it was located somewhere around this area near Nova Scotia, and that's where the Titanic met its final end. Ilulissat might be a tiny town, but when it comes to painting their houses, they are very loud and vocal with bright and vibrant colors. The whole of Greenland is a defunct volcano, Here you can see the mouth of a small volcano and the rocks and the lava is flowing out of it. So nothing grows, especially no trees anywhere, just shrubs, just like these, what you see now here. And so lots of little shrubs all around Greenland, but no trees. Here you can see the lava flows. That's the lava flow, and more close of the lava flow, and the land's been cut off to make a flat land to build buildings like this hotel, Arctic Hotel. These poor huskies were tied up to a chain all day long, and they were quite restless because of that, and they were screaming and howling when I was there. The reason they're chained up like this is because in summer they are working dogs. They don't need their work in summer. In winter they are needed for pulling the sledges, whereas in summer they become a nuisance to the society, so they keep them tied up like this throughout the winter. It is kind of sad, really, but it's also at the same time it's a necessity to tie them up. Okay, that's the overall view of the North Pole area of the world. That's Greenland, Canada, and that comes Russia, and that's Mongolia. So in order to understand Greenlanders, you have to bring this into context, Mongolia into context. So the Mongolians actually traveled from their regions, then they passed through these areas into the Bering Sea Strait. Then they passed into northern present-day Canada and into those areas, and eventually they moved into Baffin Bay and Greenland. So basically the Mongolians who migrated to Greenland, and they are now the Greenlanders. There's also another interesting story. Those people who migrated downwards into present-day Canada and United States, they became the Red Indians. So the sun is a bit more warmer in this area, so the white-skinned Mongolians became red-skinned. Then those people who went further down into Mexico and Guatemala and Nicaragua, they started to become more darker skinned because they're closer to the equator. And those people who passed through Ecuador, present-day Ecuador, into Peru and Bolivia, they are actually because they passed through the equator area, they became quite dark-skinned. So you find quite a lot of dark-skinned Oriental race people in Peru and in Bolivia. That's a statue of Mr. Knud Rasmussen, who was born to European Danish father and Inuit mother. He was a famous explorer who was born in this city, and there's a statue for him there. People are very friendly and quite welcoming, and these are some of the locals in the city. This gentleman passed me by in the street when I took this photograph. Later on I discovered that he was part of a folk song group, and they had a lovely song in the airport when we were waiting for the Iceland flight.
from the